Alright, so we're talking about the Bandit Duelist from Freeblades as an example of showing you what a stat card looks like and what the model's capabilities are. We start with speed. Speed shows the amount in inches, which is a normal move for that model. Under certain circumstances, a charge or a sprint, they can move up to twice that distance. MAR stands for melee attack rating. We call it MAR. That is the die that the model rolls in order to get a hit in melee combat. For this model, he has two weapons, a long sword and a parry dagger because he's a swordsman, and he has a MAR of D10 in both weapons. The next stat is a melee weapon. This model has two, the sword, which does D8 damage, we'll talk about that in a second, and his parry dagger. Now, these notations down here, there are two letters, show that the weapon itself has a weapon attribute. The parry dagger has the weapon attribute Swift, +1 to all parry tests. So when he goes to make a parry, which is to block a melee attack by another model, he'll use that D10, but he gets a +1 bonus from the weapon attribute. The models that have a ranged weapon will show their range attack rating and the characteristics of the ranged weapon the same way, the name of the weapon and the damage that it does. A DEF is defense. That is the number another model needs to roll on their attack roll in order to hit this model. AB is armor value. That's the number or better you have to achieve in order to cause a loss of a life point or cause a wound to the model once you've hit it. So if this model were hit by a sword, which is a D8 weapon, you'd need to roll this armor value or higher on a D8. So you can see that this model is not very heavily armored. He's wearing a leather jacket. LP is the number of life points the model has. Followers have 1, heroes have 2, leaders have 3. So this model will be dropped, will be removed from the game after it takes 2 life points. And the last stat is discipline, and that is a combined leadership, morale, and training for the model. So we use that role for all 3. After the basic stats, we list the special abilities or talents that the model has. And this model is a swordsman, so all of his talents are basically swordsmanship related. Parry, the ability to block and attack. Swordsman, which is the ability to use his parry dagger to create openings to make his other attack better. Blade dancer is the ability to step out of a combat into another combat. So the duelist is very difficult to pin down in a combat. You really have to work at it. Once you do pin him down, he's easy to wound because his armor is so low, but because of his high maneuverability and the talents that he has, the other player has to really work to make sure that he is pinned into combat and can't get away. And another talent that helps that is sidestep. If another model is engaged this model in melee and misses, this model can make a legal 1-inch move, either to reposition inside the combat or to step out of it and no longer be part of it. All our models have a rating and 6 different attributes. This helps us link these models in the skirmish game to models in the role-playing game we're planning on making. It also allows us to have differentiation in the way they accomplish certain tasks like jumping over a chasm, climbing a wall, swimming in a river, dodging a blast attack or an explosive attack. And for a hero, all of those are standard D8. That's ABL means ability, unless they're separated out. So those 6 characteristics are strength, dexterity, agility, endurance, knowledge, and spirit. For this model, 5 of them are all the standard D8, but he's got a little bit better agility of D10. So if this model is called upon to make specifically an agility roll, you roll a D10 instead of a D8. Okay. We're going to show you an example of shooting. The Bandit Outlaw, who's armed with a crossbow, is going to shoot or conduct a range attack against the Fist of Vidnar, who's the Herodellin warrior priest. The Fist of Vidnar's defense is 4. So far the model that's shooting, the Bandit Outlaw, needs a 4 to hit. But this piece of terrain is concealing the Fist of Vidnar from the shot, which adds +1 to his defense. So now that he needs a 5. We also check the range. The range band of a crossbow is 10 inches. So inside the first 10 inches there's no modifier. After 10 to 20, it's -1. And 20 to 30, it's -2. We see he's inside 10 inches, so no modifier for range. So the shot is, he needs a 4 for the defense of the Fist of Vidnar and +1 to a 5 because of the terrain. The model has a D6 range attack rating, rolls a 5, gets a hit. Now we go to damage. Now sometimes this model that you're shooting at will have a defensive talent, It helps him against missile attacks or range attacks, dodge, missile parry. This one does not, so that's a solid hit. So now we go to damage. We look at the Outlaw's card. We see that the crossbow has a damage rating of D8. And the Fist of Vidnar is very heavily armored for a caster. He's a warrior priest, has an armor value of 6. So on a roll of 6 or greater on a D8, the Outlaw will cause a wound on the Fist of Vidnar. He rolls a 4, does not cause a wound.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. We're showing here now an example of how a spell is cast and how a counter spell could be used to block that spell. The Bandit Enchantress is going to cast a spell called Corman's Gift, which is basically a healing spell. It restores 1 life point lost by one of its friendly models. In order to cast a spell, the caster must pay the point cost of the spell out of its power pool, which in this case is 1. Must be able to see the target and be within 18 inches of the target, both of which are okay. Spends a point of power, rolls her caster rating, the caster rating of the Bandit Enchantress, and the caster rating of all the casters in the starter factions is D10. She rolls an 8, she successfully casts a spell. Now, before we go any further, we leave that roll out there so both players can see it, because the opposing caster, which in this case is Haradel Fist of Vidnar, is within line of sight and within his caster rating in inches, which is 10 inches of the target. He is eligible to counterspell. In order to counterspell, he must pay the same cost as the original caster spent to cast a spell, and he must roll a die, his caster rating, and the result must be greater than her result on her cast in order to block the spell. She rolled an 8, he rolls a 4. He fails to counterspell. So she successfully removes the wound from the combat. In this combat, there are 2 models fighting 1 model. We have the Militia Spearman who charged in during the movement phase, and the Apprentice Knight who was fighting the Black Rose, the bandit leader, from a previous turn. So we have 2 models fighting 1 model. The first thing we have to do is establish which model is going to attack in which sequence. There are no standoff attacks, so chargers go first. So the Militia Spearman will attack first because he charged this turn. Among these 2 models, neither of which charged, it's based on discipline. The discipline of the Black Rose is D12, the discipline of the Apprentice Knight is D8. So she will attack after the Militia Spearman attacks, and the Apprentice Knight will attack last. So the first thing we do is establish the order, 1, 2, 3. The second thing we do is we establish any option talents that are in play. Those are talents or abilities that a model has, that the model has a choice of doing either A or B. In this case, the Apprentice Knight has the talent Shield Bash. The Apprentice Knight can choose to either use her shield to raise her defense by 1 in a defensive mode, or she can use it offensively and conduct a second attack. That is 2 die levels less than her main attack and is damage D6. In this case, she's going to choose to do a Shield Bash. So the sequence will be Militia Spearman attacks, the Black Rose will attack, and then the Apprentice Knight will attack both with her longsword and with her shield. We'll do the Militia Spearman first. We see from his card that his melee attack rating is D6. The defense of the Black Rose is normally 5, but because she's being piled on, there are 2 models on 1. For every extra model after the first, her defense is dropped by 1, so her defense is now 4. The Militia Spearman rolls his D6 melee attack rating, rolls a 4, and gets a hit. The Black Rose has the talent Parry. She has Parry 2. That means that she can parry 2 different attacks in the course of any one combat. She's been hit by the Militia Spearman. She decides to use one of her parries to block his attack. When she does that, she uses her melee attack rating, rolls that die, and replaces her normal defense with that result. She has a D12 plus 1 melee attack rating. She rolls a 3, becomes a 4. She does not exceed what he got. Her parry did not work. The Militia Spearman still hit. The damage done by a spear, all long spears are D8 damage weapons. Her armor is 4. The Militia Spearman must roll a D8 and get a 4 better in order to cause a wound. He rolls a 6, 1 wound is caused. The bandit leader has 3 wounds like all of the leaders in the game. So we've conducted 1 attack. We move on to her. She will attack next because she has a higher discipline than the Apprentice Knight. Her melee attack rating is D12. She chooses to attack, and this is a special situation, the Militia Spearman. Now here's why. Normally you'd say, why am I not attacking a model that hasn't attacked me yet? Because if I do something to her, then she'll be less capable of attacking me when her time in the sequence comes. In this case, models must normally, if they're heroes, which she is, must normally attack other heroes in the combat. The bandit special rule is called Scoundrels and Villains. They don't care about that. They can attack enemy followers. And he is an easier kill. He has only 1 life point. Because of that, she's going to attack him, trying to make sure that he dies, so the number of life points that are caused is equal, so she won't lose the combat. So she rolls a d12 plus 1 attack against the Militia Spearman's defense of 5. She rolls a 7, becomes an 8. He's hit. He does not have either the parry or dodge defensive talent, so he definitely has been hit and can't do anything about it. Her longsword is d8 plus 1. His armor is 4. She rolls a 2, becomes a 3, and does not score a wound. She need a 4 better in order to cause a wound. Both these models have attacked. Now it's the Apprentice Knight's turn. The Apprentice Knight has a d10 melee attack rating with her longsword. We've established that the bandit leader's defense is 4, normally 5, but 4 because of pylon. She rolls a 6, she gets a hit. The bandit leader has parry 2, so she can parry 2 different attacks. She attempted here with the Militia Spearman and failed. Now she's going to attempt to parry the attack by the Apprentice Knight. The Apprentice Knight rolled a 6, so she must use her melee attack rating, d12 plus 1, and exceed a 6 in order to block that attack. She rolls a 3, becomes a 4, once again fails to parry. So she's been hit by the longsword of the Apprentice Knight. Apprentice Knight rolls her d8 longsword's damage. The armor of the bandit leader is 4. The Apprentice Knight gets a 1, no wound is caused. But she still has 1 more attack. She chose to shield bash with her shield. Shield bash is 2 dice levels lower than a normal attack. A normal attack's a d10, 2 dice levels lower is d8, d6. So she rolls a d6 to hit against the bandit leader's defense of 4. Rolls a 6, which is a spike. She can continue to roll because she rolled the highest number on the roll she was able to take. 6, rolls a 2, becomes an 8. So she's got an 8 for her hit on the bandit leader. The bandit leader has no more parries available. She's already parried twice and she only has parry 2. So this is a hit. The shield damage, when she uses the shield bash, is d6. The bandit leader's armor is 4. Rolls a 6, another spike. Another spike. 6, 12. 1 more is 13. She's rolled 13. She's only 9 over what she needs. She definitely causes 1 wound. If she were 10 over, which is the threshold for critical success in Freeblades, she would have caused the 3rd wound and dropped the bandit leader right there. Instead, 2 of her 3 wounds are gone. Everybody's attacked. The combat is over. The loser of the combat is the side that takes more wounds. The bandit leader took 2.
Attention exhibitors.
The Haradalans took none. That means the bandit side is the losing side. The bandit leader must take a morale test. Her discipline is d12. The target number of all morale tests is 4. She rolls a 5. She passes. If she had failed, she would panic away, and the Haradalans would have the opportunity to either reposition or pursue her and try to run her down.